Hello, and welcome to Advancing Healthcare Through Simulation. I'm your host, Lisa George. Today, we're excited to welcome Dr. Michael Kallos, the department head and professor in the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the Schulich School of Engineering at the University of Calgary. He also holds an adjunct position in the Department of Cell Biology and Anatomy in the Cummings School of Medicine. Dr. Kallos serves as the Associate Director of the Pharmaceutical Production Research Facility and has been recognized in multiple Teaching Excellence Awards throughout his career. Welcome, Dr. Michael Kallos. We're so excited to have you on the podcast today. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, and thank you very much for having me.
Great. Well, we are going to dive right into the questions. Hope you don't mind. I think we've got a lot to ask. We're really excited to hear from you. First, I'd just like to start out by saying, can you provide a bit of an overview of how simulation is being used in biomedical engineering and medical device innovation?
So simulation is really an essential tool for biomedical engineering innovators and medical device developers. And it's becoming more and more useful as computing power goes up and as the cycle of innovation gets faster and faster. So for me as an engineer, simulation can mean very different things. So this can range from using software to simulate kind of the physics and the chemistry and the biology of a device or a process. So think of like modeling how a heart valve works, and you do it in a computer first to make sure you got the right design. And it can also be used to study different populations. So even in a computer, you can model how patients move through a hospital, for example, or how a patient might interact with a prosthetic device. And then the better thing than that is actual simulation with people. So this is having users come in a bit of a controlled situation and actually use your medical device. And so all of those different things help us to design devices in a faster and better way, as well as providing devices that actually work and that are safe and are easy to operate by whoever is supposed to be operating them.
I'm sure lots of valuable information in all of those facets you described. Yeah, thank you for giving us that background. Can you tell us a little bit how Amedico leverages simulation to support the development of new healthcare technologies?
Yeah, so Amedico is really been great for the province, for Alberta. And it's a network of 5 different post-secondary institutions. And Nate has this amazing facility that you're standing in front of the sign for right there. And part of what we want to do through Amedico is get that facility in front of all of the medical device innovators in the province. And so the money that the province gave us to start Amedico has really been fantastic in linking together U of A, U of C, Nate, Red Deer, and Lethbridge, principal investigators or faculty members who are working on medical device development. And part of the first kind of year of that grant is getting to know each other. And I've been up to the facility a couple times now, and every chance I get, I come up and visit, because it really is an amazing facility, and it really is. I think there's a lot of use right now for training the people that will use the devices, but on the innovator side, I think there's also a lot of opportunity to get some, I call it controlled real world evidence that your device is safe, easy to use, and operates the way you think it will. So I think Amedico is going to be really great at getting Nate and CAMS in front of everybody across the province, so faculty and companies. And also linking together other places like W21C down here at the University of Calgary that also have, on a smaller scale, some facilities like that.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to be able to share those opportunities. CAMS can be such a diverse environment in terms of what we can set it up to. So I agree. Every time I have someone come through on a tour, they are surprised.
And I see it differently every time.
Okay, great.
Set up, so it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll go into some of the challenges maybe that you see innovation struggling with in medical technology development. How can simulation help address these challenges?
Well, for one thing, human factors engineering or human factors design and showing your device will work with the users is now a requirement for medical devices in North America and Europe. And so this is something that companies are going to have to do. And so I think the innovation challenge has been having places to do that. So again, places like CAMS are a fantastic example. And a challenge also is having that kind of feedback loop quickly so that a company can iterate on their design and get something working really quickly. And so I think that the innovation challenge that simulation helps address is really making something that is safe, that works the way you want it to, and not just for the patient, but also for it might be an operator. So nurses, surgeons, other healthcare practitioners. If a device is going to be used in a healthcare setting, it's really great to be able to test it in that setting. And if it's going to be used at home, if you can see people and how they might use the device at home, that's also fantastic. And this is something you can't really do on the computer. As much as I would love to do lots of things on the computer because I'm an engineer, I think that having this kind of end user interaction is essential.
Right. And like you said, in a controlled environment where we're not interrupting care that's being provided out in the healthcare setting right now, so they can continue to do that good work as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they might not be a case where you can try things like that before you've shown that it can work, right? Surgical tools, for example, you're not going to experiment on someone that really needs a surgery. So
Right.
you're going to have a place where a surgeon can try a new device to align a patient's, arm or something in a setting that is not life-threatening, is not going to, yeah, as you said, impact the care.
Well, that leads me to my next question. I was hoping that you might be able to share an example of how simulation based testing has led to an improvement in a medical device kind of usability feature, patient safety, or clinical workflow. Does anything stand out in your mind?
So I don't have a specific example, but I did a little bit of looking online because my research is in this area, but I'm helping lead this group. And it can be something as simple as where to put the buttons on a device that is used to infuse medicines into a patient in the hospital, and how you design the connections for that device so that there's mistakes can't be made and you don't put the wrong medicine in the wrong patient. And I think there was a study in BC where they were looking at um, um, adverse events for patients and tracked them down to a design flaw, basically, in the way that the pumps were operated, or that the pumps were designed and then used. And something like human factors engineering or designing it with the user in mind is a way to get rid of those effects and make sure that the user is designing it the way you think they will design it in the real world. So designing a little connector isolated, great. But when you have 20 things you're trying to connect and a nurse is dealing with, 50 patients, it becomes really, really essential that the device is easy to read, easy to communicate. You don't need to read a manual every time you operate it. So these kind of things are becoming more and more prevalent because they lead to saving lives, but they also lead to cost savings for the healthcare system. And this is a huge driver right now, is how you can save money in the healthcare system by doing these kind of studies.
I think I know exactly the example that you're giving. This is something that we talk about as a part of our interprofessional education with students, trying to help them recognize those mistakes that can happen and speak up to. It's interesting how it all kind of connects together. So thank you for sharing that. Great example. So when we talk about what role patient-centric design plays in developing healthcare innovations, can you tell us a little bit how simulation supports this approach?
So, yeah, patient-centered design has really become a huge focus in the healthcare system. So, not just design of devices, but a whole design of care. And so, the challenge with that is that not all patients are the same. And if you design for one patient, it might not work for other patients. So listening to what patients actually want rather than what is possible technically or medically is something that it's kind of a change in the healthcare system. And it's a change that I think is for the better as we're able to kind of rapidly develop devices in a faster way, as we're able to meet the needs of patients. You end up having a happier, healthier population. And hopefully, some of those technologies that become so easy to use and so low in risk, they can actually move out of a healthcare setting into more of a prevention setting in people's homes.
Yeah, I think that would be critical. We've been hearing a lot about how our system is overwhelmed and how we need to, focus on primary care or aging in place at home, those sort of things. So I can see that being a real value to patients and families as well as caregivers.
Yeah, and if you don't study a device that an older adult is going to use with those older adults, you are not going to know how they're going to interact with that or what they're going to feel comfortable doing, what kind of mistakes might be made if they have, Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or other conditions that would affect their ability to interact with technology. A cell phone with lots of buttons on it is great for a teenager or for a younger adult, but you want very simple things that, are very simple and easy to remember how to operate for somebody that doesn't hasn't grown up with that kind of technology.
You touched on something that I want to hear a little bit more about. You talked about integrating, real world patient data. So if you're developing a device for seniors, getting that data from senior patients. So thinking about that, how will this help improve the medical device design and implementation?
So I think incorporating this kind of feedback really early is critical to speed up the process. I think of it as like you're trying to get to a target, and you can shoot your bow and arrow from far away, but you're not going to hit it. And what thinking about patient engagement, thinking about user-centered design does is it enables you to walk a few more steps towards that target and then take the shot. So the ultimate thing is to actually get what the unmet need is from the end users for some types of devices, and then co-develop it with them. So this cycle of engaging the patient, iterating on design, building a prototype, then engage again. I take the patient as the user, but it could be the surgeon, it could be the nurse, it could be any caregiver. And so I think having that data with patients. So if you have something that's going to help people that have a vision problem, for example, you want to engage with those folks to understand how they interact with things. If you have a neurodiverse child and you're trying to design a device with that, you need to engage with the children, but also the parents and also the teachers if they're going to school. So I think this is, to me, it's a no-brainer, but apparently this is new for medicine. So, as an engineer, you want to solve the right problem. I always say we want to solve the right problem. And I can't tell you what that problem is, but the patient can, or the
Right.
doctor can, or the nurse can. And so incorporating their feedback and data to me is one of the most essential things to actually solve the right problem in a way that will be used. Your device might be able to be made and manufactured. You get it out into the real world, and no one's going to buy it. You're going to get the reviews on not Amazon because you're not buying medical devices there, hopefully, but same kind of thing. You're going to get and it's not going to be still in the market if you don't do these kind of things. So commercially, for investors, this is really a key piece.
I would imagine that there would be some challenges with trying to get the right people or have enough people to participate in these type of activities. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've seen in terms of challenges for patient-centric design?
Yeah, so one of the challenges is the sheer size of the healthcare system and getting change into the healthcare system. So I think I looked up today that AHS has over 100,000 employees here in Alberta, which is insane. And all of those different departments and units have been set up a certain way that is system centered or not, and not patient centered or doctor centered. And I think that shift is going to have to go throughout the system. So the demand for certain technologies from patients doesn't really fit in with how AHS goes through procurement and buying things. And I just use AHS as an example. Any large healthcare system is going to be like this. And
Mhm.
so there's a number of kind of traditional structures and systems that are going to be a barrier to this. AHS is working. There's a lot of patient-centered type initiatives going on there, but again, it's a long thing and it's hard to change. Um, and so you also have to get the doctors on board, and you have to get the caregivers on board with this different kind of patient-centered way of thinking. And so it requires a lot of education. It requires some really good examples and case studies where it's worked. And I think that implementing these will, have an effect on the healthcare budget, will have an effect on care for patients.
And that's really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
Patient
Can we help people?
outcomes. Yeah, exactly. So let's look into some of the future trends that we're seeing in simulation for health innovation. Thinking about AI, extended reality technologies, how they've been evolving, how do you see them shaping the next generation of healthcare simulation and innovation?
I think that if you ask me that today and you ask tomorrow, you get a different answer. That's how fast things are changing.
True.
I'm actually taking a course on AI so that I kind of stay up to date on what's happening. And every week we have one lecture, and week to week there's like, oh, and this week this happened. So I think that we have greatly underestimated what AI and large language models specifically are going to be able to do. I think they are really going to help with integrating different technologies together. Because humans are not really great at combining a whole bunch of imaging data with a whole bunch of kind of biomarker blood sample data in a way that really gets down to personalized or precision medicine for patients. But computers are, and large language models are. So I think that we're going to see a lot of home care where you can actually talk to, I'm going to put in quotes, someone who can help provide some of that information as long as you set up that model with the facts and not kind of misinformation or disinformation. I think there's an opportunity here for some AI large language models that can be really beneficial so that people can ask their healthcare questions and not wait for a 10-minute doctor's appointment to ask one thing and then book another appointment to ask another thing. They can just go on and talk to these. So what we really need is a kind of trusted AI and trusted large language model for health type questions. And kind of extended reality VR and AR. That's going to really help training surgeons and training practitioners. They have a great system here at UFC for training nurses, for example, where they have a combination of kind of not prosthetic. I don't know the right word for them, dummies, but like they're not dummies. They're very expensive, highly instrumented people.
Task
So
trainers,
that's
perhaps?
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, VR, AR, so they can actually look and kind of go, okay, this is what I would see. This is how I'm going to interact with the people. So I think by actually doing it, you learn a lot more. And so you can't do it in the real world, but these kind of simulators, using virtual reality, using augmented reality are going to be super, super helpful to getting, say, students that graduate that don't just have book smarts, haven't just answered all the questions right on a test, but they've been through so many hours of simulated whatever. Just like the airline industry. I don't want someone
Mhm.
flying my Boeing 737 for the first time. But if they've gone through thousands of hours of training on simulators, you feel a little bit better about kind of how they are able to deal with adverse things that maybe they've seen in a simulator before they see it in the real world. So I think AI, extended reality, um, are going to be huge. Also, things like remote patient monitoring and remote care are going to be another big thing, and AI is going to be able to help with that too.
A lot of exciting opportunities. It's really interesting to hear you talk about that. And I agree. It's something new every day. So we'll
Every day.
keep our eyes peeled on that. What do you think are the key opportunities for collaboration between academia, industry, and healthcare institutions to advance the simulation-based innovation?
So I think in many instances, a like a commercial entity, a company, is the best way to get a new technology out to help people. And so academia and industry have to work closely to see whether that technology can transfer from academia into an existing company or academia into a new company. I think we need to work a little bit on understanding how technology is not a product, and you have to sell a product, and someone's going to use a product. And that jump is something that we need academia, industry, and healthcare to work together on to figure out what is the product and then how can academia and industry co-develop. So in AMedico, we are trying to get a bit more communication and interactions between industry and academia, as well as the healthcare system. We have probably about 25 of the companies in Alberta that work on medical devices involved in our projects. We have a lot of students that are now getting training on projects that cross across Alberta. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities. And I think the Alberta kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like a Western can-do kind of thing where people are really collaborative and want to work together. I think this is a super advantage for us to kind of take advantage of the very strong kind of engineering technical expertise across the province, the very strong medical schools, the single healthcare system, and then this kind of growing local ecosystem of companies, venture capital, funding. I think it's just an amazing time to be in this space here in Alberta.
And I think, looking ahead to May 7th, the Advancing Healthcare Through Simulation Provincial Summit is going to be a great opportunity to bring those partners together. Like you said, academia, research, innovators, all of those people. We're hoping to gather them together and do some, discussions around some of these great topics. If you had to pick something that you were most looking forward to for this summit, what do you think it would be that you would recommend to others?
I would say just go. But I think it's that getting all those folks in the same room together. And I think learning about what they all do. And I'm excited. I mean, we've just hired a new human factors engineering faculty member, Juno Park. And so getting him connected to you guys and getting him connected to what else is going on in the province, I think is going to be amazing. And just getting those connections. There's so many silos. That I think kind of hearing about these things will be from all sorts of different people across the province is going to be amazing. We have our annual meeting for AMedico the day after. And so we're hoping to get lots of people to come up for the May 7th event because they're going to have to be there for May 8th anyway. And we're hoping to have some kind of public part of that as well, which we can share when we've kind of planned it out. And everyone is welcome to come for that to hear what AMedico is doing as well.
Great. We look forward to that. That sounds like perfect timing.
Kind of worked out better.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kallos, for your time here today on the podcast, sharing your expertise on simulation and, how we're really driving health innovation and improving health factors for these devices. So thank you so much for your time. It was great chatting with you.
Great chatting with you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
This series is proudly produced by the team at Road 55. Road 55 creates content that connects. For more information, visit our website at road55.ca.